Good evening, everyone. I'm going to get us started. There's some seats in the front if you'd like to come take a seat. Oh, good. So it looks like we're all assembled. You want to take a seat? Sure. So welcome to Rhode Island 2030. And welcome to Hope in Maine. We're delighted that all of you are here with us this evening. My name is Lisa Raiola. I am the president and founder of Hope in Maine. And when we got the phone call from Rhode Island Commerce to host this tonight, I imagine that it was because we have helped to launch a business or two out of our food business incubator here in Warren. In the 7 years since we opened our doors, we've launched over 400 businesses, and I'm sure you see lots of them out there. I'm sure that you see lots of them out there on the shelves. And shameless plug, we have our holiday markets coming up, and you can buy them right here at Hope in Maine if you want to come back in November and December. I'm excited to do this tonight because I feel that if we want to build back better, we need to build back local. And what I mean by that is if we are able to make local investment that is sustainable and builds wealth in our communities and builds ownership in our communities and gives all of our entrepreneurs in our state an equal shot, a fair shot at achieving their dreams, which is sort of what we do here, we will be happy with this moment of historic investment that we're faced with. So tonight, what we're really going to be doing is kind of watching the sausage get made, which is something we do here at Hope in Maine every day. But that's what democracy is all about. It's about public dialogue. So it's wonderful to see that in action. I want to welcome the governor, who I'll introduce in a moment, Secretary Pryor, Lieutenant Governor Matos. You keep off camera, but very powerful at the back of the room is our Warren Town Administrator, Kate Michaud, and our Town Council President, Madam President Cronin is here. And I hope that I have been able to point out all of the elected officials in the room. With masks on, sometimes we don't recognize everybody. So that's what tonight is about. Tonight is about an exchange of ideas and creating that equal opportunity for everyone to be heard, because that's what creates an equal opportunity for everybody to really look forward to a better Rhode Island as we move into the next decade. So I do have further ado, which is to introduce Hector. Hector is here as our translator tonight, and I'm going to have him introduce himself in Spanish, because if anyone needs some interpretation and translation services, why don't you come up here, Hector? And if you go on the website to Rhode Island 2030, you will see that the report is also published in Spanish. So I want to point that out as well.
Wow, never told that I'm gonna get the microphone tonight. So, good night, everybody, and it's an honor to be here. And If anyone doesn't speak English at all, I'm gonna be more than my pleasure to interpret in Spanish. So, si alguien aquí no habla inglés y quiere la interpretación en español, con mucho gusto yo se la voy a dar. Voy a estar sentado allá, o levante su mano si alguien no habla inglés. I believe everybody speaks English here, so I'm gonna be there anyways. Okay. Gracias.
Good evening, everybody. I just wanted to bring the governor and our lieutenant governor and director of commerce the greetings from the town of Warren. So on behalf of the entire Warren Town Council, John Hanley, Vice President, Brent Heckert, Steve Kalenda, and Joseph D. Pasquale, and myself, Carrie Cronin, President, welcome to Warren. It's so nice to have you here. Thank you.
Well, thank you all, and Madam President, thank you for, having us as your guest here tonight in Warren. And I spoke to a few people that are here tonight. My wife Susan and I make a special effort to come down on the bike path and enjoy the wonderful landscape and the culture that's down here in the Bristol Warren area, and Warren in particular. And I've been visiting this place for years in terms of seeing the development on small business, so I feel as though right at home here. So this is a great place to be, and tonight what we're doing is it's really an opportunity for us as we go around the state of Rhode Island to get people's input on a simple concept: is what is Rhode Island going to look like in 2030, and how can we use some of the opportunities that we have today to launch that effort in terms of the direction that we would like to see the state to go. So I'm happy to be joined here by Lieutenant Governor Sabina Matos, along with our Commerce Secretary Stephen Pryor, along with Director Matt Weldon is here, DHS Director Celia Blue, I believe, will be here. She's not here already. I think that Rep. Speakman was going to be here as well, but I'm not sure whether she has showed up or not also. But it's just great to be here with our leaders, but also and the people who live in our communities. So over the last several months since I've been governor, we've built a foundation here in Rhode Island for what we want. A discussion of what we want our next 10 years to be in the state of Rhode Island. We started with 13 virtual community conversations. And we all know about virtual conversations now. I didn't know about those before the COVID hit us, but clearly they've been a great resource. And we've been able to talk about key priorities in those meetings. Those are all available online on ri2030.com. But we've talked about the economy and education, workforce, children and family issues, health issues, the blue economy, the green economy, hospitality, the whole gamut of things that are all on our minds as people who live in the state of Rhode Island. So about a week ago, our team put out a draft, or a Rhode Island 2030. It's a working document, and I've said this on the virtual programs. We didn't do a super committee. We basically started to really kind of bring in different areas in the state, expertise, but also people who are interested to launch the conversation on these things. I look at the people in the state of Rhode Island as the committee to talk about the Rhode Island 2030 plan. So that's the start. That's where we started, but the work is still to continue. So once further shaped by public input, which we are here tonight to begin, that document will serve as a framework, hopefully a framework to guide the state over the next decade. So this work is important, and the reason, and you here and your input is important to all of us. So as you've heard me say, what we have in front of us is a once in a generation opportunity, and many reasons that brought us to this point, right? Is that we've had this pandemic with us for 20 months now, or in that area, 18, 20 months. It has reshaped a lot of our thinking as people who live in the state of Rhode Island. But what it's done is, because we've been able to, and thank you all here, we've been able to get, as we announced this week, 90% of our adult population with one shot in the arm. That's big. That's really important for us. We've lowered our infection rates to, to have some of the lowest infection rates in the country, and we don't need to go any more funerals, right? We don't need to go to any more funerals. So please be safe out there, get vaccinated, still be, cautious. But at the same point in time, that response by the people in the state of Rhode Island to have the second highest vaccination rate in the country at this point in time has really allowed our economy to open up. It allowed me as governor to reopen our economy faster than what we thought and do it safely. And that put us in a position right now, and Stefan will talk about it, is that we're currently third in the country in reopening our economy. We're number one in the Northeast in reopening our economy, and that's why it's so important for us to take advantage of that positioning. Anyone who's lived in Rhode Island even 20 years, right, knows that every time we have an economic downturn, we seem to be the first in and the last out of those downturns. But here we are leading the country on our health issues, on one of the most critical health crises that we've ever lived through. And yet at the same time, because we responded as a state in a way that protected us from even a heavy case of the Delta, we fought off that in a very reasonable way. But that's given us this position in terms of our economy. Now we can focus on that. And we're a state that is, I was in Washington last Thursday and Friday meeting with some governors, first time out of the state, quite frankly, since the COVID. Got to meet with the Speaker of the House, got to meet with the President of the United States. They know the states that are really recovering quick, and they know the opportunity that those states have. And Rhode Island being an ocean state, for all the reasons that I don't have to go into detail for, that's what the report is about, our report is about, puts us in a great position. So I'm very, very optimistic. I'm very excited about what the future holds for Rhode Island. Not saying we don't have challenges, but we've got great opportunity, and we want to be focused on the opportunity just as much as the challenges. And I want to see more accessible, affordable housing. We want to see our children receive a great education in the state, and we want to increase, which I think is one of the main goals, we need to increase per capita income in the state of Rhode Island. We need to make sure that all our families are earning more dollars so that they can enjoy our state, and that's one of our objectives in this whole effort. So I think that the Rhode Island is in a great spot. We're the ocean state. We're a beautiful state, and people have discovered our state over the last 18 months, and we need to make sure that we generate as much planning as we possibly can. I was mentioned, no plan's going to be perfect, but without a plan, you've got a big problem, and that's why we need to know where we're headed. Otherwise, you get in your car and you don't know where you're headed, and you would just end up anywhere. We don't want to just end up anywhere. We want to end up somewhere that's really good for our state and the people who live in it. So I think that our future is within our reach, and I've been very fortunate to have Lieutenant Governor work with me over the last several months in a real direct way, and she's taken a definite role in this effort of 2030, and I just want to have you meet her if you haven't already. But Sabina, please come up, say a few words, and thank you so much for your attention tonight. Thank you for being here.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Governor, and thank you for your leadership. I just want to say that I was in the room when it was said to you that we couldn't get to 90% vaccination, and we are at over 90% vaccination right now of individuals that have gotten at least one vaccine, and over 70% of those are fully vaccinated, and that's thanks to your leadership. So thank you, Governor, for being so strong on making sure that we get the vaccine message forward, because that's what is allowing us to get together tonight here to have this conversation in person. We had about over 13 conversations, right, Secretary? 13 conversations online via social media, Zoom, and we heard a lot from a lot of individuals in different topics, but nothing replaced the opportunity to be in person and to hear from all of you in person. And because we have to understand that not everyone is comfortable using the technology or knows how to use technology. So that's why we wanted to have this opportunity to come in person and to hear from all of you that didn't have an opportunity to share your thoughts about what we should do to make sure that we have a strong Rhode Island in 2030. And a couple of things to keep in mind. We're talking about a plan for the state for 2030. And also, there is the ARPA funding is part of it, but it's not all of it. I want you to keep that in mind when you're giving feedback. With the ARPA funding is not all of it that we're gonna talk about. Is what is the vision that we have for the state in 2030. And talking about 2030 and talking about the ARPA funding, something that we have to think about is what happened in 2020. What were the things that we discovered and the challenges that we had as a state in who was being left behind? In what were the challenges that we saw that we were struggling, like housing. So I want to hear your ideas on what we should do to address those challenges also. So thank you so much for being here, for participating. I just want to Representative Liana Casar also that is here. Thank you for being here. And this is your neighborhood, right? So thank you for welcoming us. So with that, I'm just gonna turn it over with Secretary Pryor. So him and I got really good about having the Zoom conversations that we even talk about them. Eventually we may end up having a TV show, but let's see how we do in person. Thank you.
Thank you, Governor McKee, Lieutenant Governor Matos. We really appreciate the opportunity to have this in-person session following upon our 13 community conversations that were digital. This is so important, involving commerce, but well beyond commerce across all of these disciplines. We want to hear from you as we further shape this draft document. First of all, thanks to Lisa Rayola. This facility, Hope in Maine, is incredible. It's an asset to Warren, it's an asset to the entire state, and it's such an important part of our economy, and so appropriate that we start here in thinking about how to grow further in the way that so many products and businesses grow right out of here, Lisa. So thank you for your incredible work. I want to recognize also, Governor McKee emphasized with us, let's brew, let's develop, let's bring forth the ideas we have right here in Rhode Island using Rhode Island talent. And we partnered with the University of Rhode Island, our flagship state university, to help bring the initial ideas together, compile them from the conversations and bring them out to you. Leah Malloy, where are you, the chair of the economics department? Professor Malloy, thank you very much for helping us compile this information from the University of Rhode Island. Thank you again, Governor, for enabling and forging that partnership. And Governor, Lieutenant Governor, what we're here to do today is to hear from Rhode Islanders. So we're not going to have an extensive presentation tonight. We're going to have a brief one on what we've heard to date are the important topics and a little taste of the recommendations that we've also received from the public as the governor kicked us off each and every time we did one of these sessions, and the Lieutenant Governor and I helped to facilitate. Does everyone have a printed one of these? And let me ask this differently. Does anyone in the audience not have a printed two-sider with the big themes, the big topics? Anyone just go ahead and raise your hand if we need to get you one? Okay, great, we will get you one. Brian, if you would assist. Anyone else need one? So if you take a look at this sheet, Rhode Island 2030, a working document, it's still a draft. As the governor has emphasized with us, we need to continually revise this and get it to the point where it represents what Rhode Island aims for now for immediate relief and into the next decade, propelling us into the future. So you'll see a series of topic areas. Today, before I even get into the content of this, I want to preview what we're going to do today and then help explain what's in here and what the QR codes can get you to for even more information. So what we're going to do today is, after this podium portion of the session, break up into some of the corners of the room where these topics are clustered, and we'll let you bring forth your ideas. We want to make sure that every single idea that you may have can get posted and can get said. Then we're going to report out from these different issue areas. And then we are going to come back together and hear that reporting out, and even an idea that might have gotten missed, you can still state to us when we regather. So that's what we're doing today. So now back to this sheet. If you take a look, you'll see it breaks down into 10 issue areas. We're going to be more along the lines of 4 areas this evening. Small business. So take a look with me. By the next decade, Rhode Island will have a thriving, vibrant, and diverse small business ecosystem that has emerged stronger and more resilient from the global pandemic and is a key driver of opportunity, job creation, and economic growth for Rhode Island. That's in essence a goal, it's a vision statement. It's very aligned with the governor and lieutenant governor and their emphasis on small business. Now, if you want to, you can use the QR code on your phone, pull up the larger document. It's a 50+ page document, and you can see what lies beneath in the way of even more information on the topic. So the document, if it's printed out, and you're welcome to do this at home, it will look like this. You can look at it on your phone. You do not need to, because we know you come armed with your own thoughts and points that you want to make, and that's what we want to hear tonight. But just to illustrate for you, so if you check out the small business section, in the small business section it has recommendations like continue to ease licensing and permitting requirements, reduce costs, etc. It has a recommendation like establishing or attracting financial institutions called a CDFI to focus on providing financing to small businesses in Rhode Island, like those small businesses that are coming out of Hope in Maine, to give them a financial head start on their future in Rhode Island. So those are the kind of specific recommendations that result from the dialogue we had, and also under Governor McKee and Lieutenant Governor Matos, consulting with our administration, officials like Director Matt Weldon of the Department of Labor and Training, who's right here tonight, consulting with them to get to the point of preliminary draft recommendations for your reaction. So that's how the document is structured. You are welcome this evening to comment on the goal itself. What do you think we should be aiming for as a state, or on the underlying recommendations, or simply to set forth an idea of your own, set forth a project that you think should be invested in, either for the near term emerging from the pandemic, or the longer term helping Rhode Island head into the next decade with strength. So just to pass through the other topics so that we're all familiar with what they are, they're self-evident from the sheet. Children, families, and early education. This is an emphasis on what we ought to do to invest in our kids and our families and in child care and related services to help create a strong Rhode Island. K-12 education, our public education system, our systems plural, and how we can help our youngsters. Workforce development and post-secondary education, how to train for the jobs of today and tomorrow, and how to ensure that our colleges and universities, public and private, provide opportunities for Rhode Islanders. Public health and wellness, especially coming out of the pandemic. What do we need to do to prepare for any future crises? How do we ensure strong community health and healthcare systems in Rhode Island? Economic growth, all of these have been points of emphasis by our governor and lieutenant governor, but one of the things that Governor McKee has repeatedly emphasized is we must grow our economy and ensure that there are continuing opportunities to invest in the services we need and to take our state forward. Infrastructure and transportation, what forms of increased investment, if any, do we need to make in our infrastructure and transportation systems? Climate, as climate changes worldwide and in Rhode Island, what are the investments, changes, policies that we need to undertake or put in place, and how can we benefit potentially economically from what we invest in domains like offshore wind? Housing. We know that there's a housing crunch across our entire state at every income level, for every neighborhood in our state, every background or geographic area or income level, as I stated. So given that, what do we have to do to increase production or make direct investments in affordability at all of these levels? Government, how can government be structured to create the capacity to carry out this work? What do we need to do to improve government? And there are a lot of different ways to approach that question. So those are the topics you see right in front of you. What we're going to recommend for today is that we break out into groups that cluster these further so we can have real conversations in the room. Again, then we're going to come back together, report out, and there'll be even more of an opportunity to put your idea forward if it hasn't made it yet. So let me pause and explain the clusters, and I'm going to identify individuals from the governor and lieutenant governor's staff who are here at those different locations. So, Brian, you may take your station as well, if you wish. Thank you so much, Mr. Brian Hodge, for your organizational skill and putting this together. Okay, so cluster number one, if you have things that you want to say that are about economic growth or small business, either of those topics. Ben Mays is with cluster one. Ben, where are you? Look at cluster number 2. Oh, okay. Well, who is with cluster number one?
Yeah.
Okay, Nicole, raise your hand. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. That's cluster number one. One more time. Cluster number one, economic growth, small business. Ben, you say you are with cluster two?
I'm 2, and I'm economic growth and small business. I believe the areas around the slide.
Okay. I'm going to ask the topic heads to shout out what they have, distinct from my sheets. My sheets. Who's topic area one, and what are your topics?
Okay, so topic area 1 is children, early education, K-12.
So topic area 1, children and early education, K-12, and workforce development.
Thank you. Beautiful.
And
Number 2.
My name is Ben, everyone. Topic area 2 is small business and economic growth. So come on over here for that.
All right. Number 3.
Hey, Chris over here, climate and infrastructure and transportation.
Number 4.
Corey Jones over here, housing and public health and wellness.
Beautiful. Does anyone need a repeat on where a topic is? Anyone thinking about a topic, want to get there, don't know where it is? All right, beautiful. And then if what you want to say doesn't relate to any of those, no worries. We're going to have an opportunity for you to say that. First of all, you can say it wherever you are, and then we're going to come back together. So what I want to do now was, Lieutenant Governor, did you want to do the honors on sharing the question?
Yes, thank
Yes,
you.
ma'am. Thank
So
you, ma'am.
we're doing a little bit of the co-hosting thing,
Yes,
right?
ma'am.
So the question for all of you is, by the next decade, Rhode Island will have a growing and ever improving housing, like if you're the housing improving housing stock that is affordable and accessible and meets the needs of all Rhode Islanders. So that gives you an example of what you can talk about in your groups. So what we're looking at for the next 20 minutes, you're gonna follow and gonna respond to the questions. What priorities, recommendations, or ideas matter to you in this area? So if I'm always go with housing, I'm big on housing, so what are the priorities, recommendations, and ideas that matters to me when it comes to housing? So if you're gonna be the housing, those are the question for you. If you're gonna go to the small business in economic growth, you're gonna ask the same questions. What are the priorities, recommendations, or ideas that matters to you in that area?
Perfect. All right. So if you would, please go ahead and choose the area of the room that you want to be in to start the conversation. You'll do a combination. It's informal. You can take a note and place it in that location and put your idea in writing. We'd love it if you said it out loud to the group gathered and talked about it, so we start to get a flow of the ideas. We're going to take about 20 minutes to do this portion of the program today. We'll see how that goes in 20 minutes. This is our very first one of these, so thank you for being part of the pioneering of this. All right, let's go.
How